Welcome back to the Gridiron Grind with Andrew and Lance. Today, we're going to talk about our teams. We're going to talk about some Viking speculation. There's been a lot of drama going on. I'm sure that Lance has some stuff he wants to talk about the Eagles. But first, I have some advice for the Vikings, for our office, for our general manager interim, and for the whole scouting department. I went to my local library and I want to call them and tell them to do the same thing. I found a book that said how to solve 50% of your problems. So I bought two of them. That's 40 chests right there.
I think your March Madness one was better. And that was impromptu, which is good.
You're welcome, America. I always gotta keep you on your toes.
Honestly, the You're Welcome America might be the best part each time.
hmm
Yeah, I think that's
Well,
literally
and
the
and
best
you know
part.
what? If other countries listening to, you're welcome, world. How about that? You're welcome, world.
Way to not be, way to not be biased.
hmm Okay, who wants to start? Do we want to start Vikings or Eagles? Where did we start last time? I forgot.
Why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Okay. I will save the quarterback talk for last because I think it's ridiculous, but I can't ignore it. So I'll save that for last. Um, I'll start with just the absolute cuts that we're going to make, and it's announced pretty much that's going to happen. So Aaron Jones is going to be gone. Javon Hargrave, they mentioned they're looking for a trade partner, but that's not going to happen. He's going to be gone. And Jonathan Allen is also going to be gone, which was a little bit on the surprising end, but I actually looked deeper into it, and I might have an idea of what they might do. They might do a post June 1st cut for him because just cutting him saves like just under 5 million. So if you're just saving under 5 million, why not just keep a talented guy older that isn't what it used to be, but you're just going to save 5 million. Might as well keep him on your roster. But if you do a post June 1st cut, you save about 12 million. You could just it spreads that out, so your next 2 years do take a little hit, but that's a pretty good savings for this year if we do that. So that might be where they're leaning toward. Javon Hargrave, he saves like I think 13-ish million. I think Aaron Jones saves like 9. So we're already looking if all those three moves happen like that, that's about 28-ish million for just those three guys, and we only need about 12 to 13 more after that. And one is our center. He had dealt with a ton of concussions this year, and I think it's just time for him to retire. I think it's time for Ryan to just say, "Hey, it's been a good career. Let's just call it." Because I think he had like two concussions last year, like really close to each other. It was just, I mean, when he plays, he's awesome, but just need to save him from himself, have him retire. That would save another like 10 million right there, and we're almost under the cap with just those four moves. Um, and then the other thing that's talking about, which I think is true, and from what I heard, there's actually teams that are semi interested, maybe slightly competing with each other, and that's the Jonathan Grenard trade talks. Um, and it just makes sense as a football move. It just does because he has a really high cap hit, no more guarantees. He wants an extension and a pay raise. We're already really strapped against the cap as it is, and we have Dallas Turner behind him who needs to get more playing time. Is Dallas Turner as good as Grenard? No. As of right now, no. Grenard's the better player for sure. But Turner needs to develop more. He's cheaper. He's our first round draft pick. He just needs to get on the field. And some people might say, well, why don't you just get rid of Van Ginkel then? In the Brian Flores offense, the Van Ginkel type role is different than Dallas Turner's skill set because Dallas Turner came in for that type of role before when Van Ginkel was getting some rest or maybe he got dinged up a little bit. And Dallas Turner doesn't really thrive in that type of role where you're kind of backing off inside some zones, really keep an eye on the ball and making that really quick movement to pick it off like Van Ginkel can do. Dallas Turner's not really that skilled. He's more of let's get after that quarterback. And he's really good at that. And that's the Grenard role. So it just makes too much sense. And we can probably get a two and maybe some change for him. And if we have these people compete, who knows what they might offer because he's 28 years old. He's a really good pass rusher. Always toward the top five-ish in pressures every single year. He didn't get many sacks last year, which might lower his value because he got what we call, as Vikings fans, a lot of almost sacks. Like he would get close to the quarterback, but either the quarterback would throw it right when Grenard hits him, or the quarterback would run away from Grenard and someone else would sack him. So he got a lot of almost sacks. And he was dinged up a little bit last year too. He had some injury stuff, but I think that is very real. And I think it's leaning towards he is going to be traded, that we will get a deal done as opposed to not. Um, because if we don't, we're not going to really re-sign him. We're probably just going to let him play this year out and then we get nothing back, maybe a comp pick in return. So I think we're going to end up striking a deal. It's probably going to be like a mid to late round second and maybe throw in a six, something like that. But that could be very helpful because Vikings have a lot of holes, and day two of this draft is where it's really meaty. There are some really good players in the first round. There not really a lot of blue chip type talent, maybe like 10 to 15 kind of guys. But that second round is pretty deep. And so if you can get a couple cracks at a second round pick, you can get a couple starters. So I love Grenard. He's a great locker room guy, but I am on board of trading him if it's for like the value of a second, maybe second and some change. Now, if we're only going to get a third back, I'm not doing that. I'd rather figure out a deal for him, like figure something out. But if we're going to get a second and some change, which I think is the value, I am down for that. Um, we'll see what happens there, but that's been the news with that. And then we can get to the whole quarterback thing and Kyler Murray. So this whole offseason, there's been all this stuff about McCarthy's going to be replaced. They're looking to improve the room, all this stuff. And then at the combine, Kevin O'Connell and our interim GM Brzezinski were saying that they want to look at all options and improve the quarterback room, which is completely true. But they did not say anything about replacing McCarthy. But there's been a lot of reports, and when there's so many, you can only ignore it for so long. But a lot of reports about like some locker room confusion with him, some like development that he hasn't had that they wanted, like a lot of concerns with him from a lot of different reporters. I'm thinking, where is this coming from? Because during the season, this wasn't really there. There was some stuff where KOC said that he needed to get back and mess with his mechanics, which that's fine. He's played 10 games. Um, but there's a lot of just stuff, a lot of negative stuff about McCarthy coming out from multiple different reporters and sources from what they were saying inside the locker room, inside the organization. It's just strange. So you can only ignore it for so long. But what I would still do is give McCarthy this year because the third year is everyone's you got to have it year or you're done. This is his third year. Let's see what he's got. He showed flashes. He's still really cheap. And then pick up a cheap backup veteran quarterback that if McCarthy gets hurt, that is the biggest concern to me. And if McCarthy gets hurt, someone can step in and actually win as opposed to like a Brosmer in there and throwing interceptions off his back, pick sixes to see. It's just
Yeah.
bad. So that's where I think they should go. And maybe Kyler Murray is that because he's going to cost $1.3 million, the league minimum, because of the offset language. And everyone and their sister is saying that if Minnesota signs Kyler Murray, he's going to be the starter. I'm not convinced of that. I'm not convinced that he is going to beat out JJ McCarthy in camp this year because of the style of the system of Minnesota, which is another reason why I don't truly know if Minnesota should be interested or if they are. There's a ton of reports that they are, so perhaps, but Kyler Murray's style of play isn't conducive to the KOC offense. KOC likes timing, over the middle, deep concepts. And all three of those things I just said are what Kyler Murray struggles the most with. What he excels at is short to intermediate, like between 5 to 10 yards in that range. He is elite accuracy in that. Give him total credit on that. And he can extend plays, improvise. He's got still really quick, really good with his legs. But that is not the KOC offense. And what does Kyler Murray struggle with the most? There were some analytic stats that I heard and looked at that from over 15 yards, like between 15 and 20 range downfield, He is like third worst out of like 60 qualified quarterbacks as far as expected points added and completion percentage. And then when you go to 20 to 25 plus, he is the absolute worst in all analytic categories as far as quarterback play since 2022, not just last year, since 2022. Big sample size. He is the worst quarterback analytically when you're passing deep. And KOC loves to pass deep. That's where Sam Darnold excelled is that deep pass. And that's how Sam Darnold had so much success here because that's what KOC loves. So it just doesn't make sense that Kyler Murray is going to be the guy to start for us next year unless KOC goes into the lab and completely restructures his offense. If he does that, cool. Let's figure it out. But I don't think he would. But the thing that concerns me the most about Kyler Murray, and I'm an OU fan, so I love Kyler Murray and OU, but and this might just be a Marvin Harrison Jr. thing. It very well could be. But that chemistry between quarterback and your number one receiver was awful. Just awful. Is that going to happen with Justin Jefferson? Because if
Mm.
you're saying that Kyler Murray has difficulty with the number one receiver who gets all the attention, double, triple teamed, and he doesn't have the timing and it just looks away from him, no, I am not signing Kyler Murray then. That is impossible. That's insane. Now, is that just the Marvin Harrison Jr. thing? Maybe. We'll see. I think Brissett had a little bit more success with Harrison Jr., but then Harrison Jr. did get hurt. So he got hurt toward the end of the year and didn't play anymore. And Michael Wilson looked great. But that just concerns me. Is that a Harrison Jr. thing or is that a Kyler Murray thing or is it both? So now what do I believe is going to happen? Like I said, I can't ignore the reports. I think there's a good chance, particularly because of that price tag of 1.3 million, that they do pursue him. And he's the only one officially available. Geno Smith has not been officially talked about being released yet. It's just speculation. If Geno Smith gets released, that's who I prefer. I prefer the Geno Smith type. He had a bad year in Vegas, 100%. It was bad, but his surroundings were bad too. I don't think it was all on him. I would prefer Geno Smith as the backup, as the security blanket for McCarthy, speak it into him. Sure, have them compete in the offseason, have them compete in training camp. But I think McCarthy still wins that because he's just younger and more athletic and has a stronger arm than Gino does now. But if Gino wins, okay, Gino wins. If it's a true competition, whoever wins wins. But I want a Geno Smith or like a Kirk Cousins type where they throw the ball over the middle, they throw the ball downfield. They don't have to worry about improvisation or being super inaccurate downfield. No, that's where they thrive at. That's the KOC offense. So if it was me, I'd go the Geno or the Kirk Cousins type in free agency. I would not go Kyler Murray.
Mm.
I love Kyler Murray, but it's not our offense, and it concerns me about him and his number one receiver. They struggled big time, and he can't throw the ball downfield. That's his weakness. So that's where I'm at on that quarterback situation. And there's been talk of Tua. There's no way Tua is going to go on the same team as Brian Flores again. That's crazy talk. That's crazy because after that podcast interview he had last year about how Brian Flores was so mean to him and just he was crying about it and it no, he is not going to play for a team that has Brian Flores on the sidelines. It just not happening. 0% chance. So that conversation can go away completely. And really, that's all the quarterbacks that's been talked about for Minnesota is Kyler Murray, Geno Smith, and Tua. And Tua is not happening. And then there was that talk of Anthony Richardson. We're not going to be trading a fifth round pick for Anthony Richardson. If he gets cut, sure, be your third quarterback project, but you're not trading ammunition for a third quarterback project. That's not what's going to happen. So that's where I'm at on the quarterback position. I prefer Geno or Kirk. I don't want Kyler unless we completely revamp our offense, which is probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And that's a fair assessment of the situation. And honestly, I really wonder who would want Tua at this point. I don't see him going anywhere unless
Yeah.
he's willing to be a backup. Uh,
Yeah.
he's got a lot of image repairing to do.
Hmm. Yep. And then I've heard reports that the other McCarthy coach for the Steelers, loved Kyler. So Kyler to the Steelers might happen, and that'd be interesting. That'd be
I could
interesting.
see that. It's probably, going with a Dak Prescott-ish type vibe. He's not
Hmm.
Dak Prescott. That's all I'm saying. I just
Right.
I could see similarities in some of the things they could do.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, but it'd be better than Aaron Rodgers coming back.
For sure. For sure. And I really hope he retires so we can quit this Aaron Rodgers in Minnesota insanity. Because again, if we're talking about passing the ball downfield, Aaron Rodgers didn't do that. He had the lowest ADOT out of every quarter of any quarterback last year. Kyler Murray was like bottom five, but Rodgers was last. So he doesn't fit the system. We need a quarterback that fits the system. That was Sam Darnold. That's why he had so much success. JJ McCarthy has no fear. He'll throw that ball downfield. It doesn't always work, but he has no fear. So that's why he kind of worked for the system. He just needs to develop
I still feel like he can have a Brett Favre arc. He's got to be patient.
100%. I completely agree. But all these reports are saying that they're not going to be patient. And it just confuses me.
I mean, I'm just gonna say it, it's different, but I mean, I still remember the year before the Eagles went to the Super Bowl that the talk was we were going to trade for Russell Wilson or Deshaun
Hmm.
Watson. And thankfully, I have no idea how close they were on both discussions, but
Hmm.
they didn't come through. And it's for the better. We would not be a better team with
Hmm.
Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson. We would be a worse team. So that's why I
Yeah.
think the teams have to be careful. Here's the problem I think the Vikings have, Andrew, and this is in all honesty. You don't have a GM to check your coach. And sometimes coaches get a little blinded. So that's going to be
Well,
interesting to navigate.
we didn't have that before. Quasey was not someone that's going to check the coach. He was listening to the coach, like, okay, this is what we're doing because that's what you want. So we're kind of in the same situation we had with Quasey, basically, except Quasey. I think the reason why Quasey got fired, truly, not it was not the Sam Darnold thing. 'Cause people are saying, oh, it's the Sam Darnold with the Super Bowl. I don't think it's that. I think he fumbled and he totally missed and whiffed on the backup quarterback thing last year. Like we had Daniel Jones kind of in the bag, and he screwed that up. And Daniel Jones decided to take less money to go start for the Colts. If we had Daniel Jones as our backup last year, we're in the playoffs because McCarthy got hurt some. Daniel Jones playing instead of Max Brosmer or Carson Wentz, we probably win two out of the five losses they had combined. We're a playoff team then. But Quasey messed that up, and I think that was the final straw. He had a lot of other issues, but I think that was the
Yeah, I
final
was going to
straw.
say,
Was
I think there's a lot
yeah,
of other
draft
things.
issues, big time draft issues, but that I think that was like the straw that broke the camel's back, as it were, was you did not get as a good backup in the offseason.
Yeah, no,
Well,
that's
should we
fair.
get to some Eagle stuff? Because
Yes,
I'm sure you want to
yes.
talk about some Eagle stuff.
I do want to mention because I think it matters, but the Daniil Hunter re-signing of $40 million is horrible
That's
news for my team.
crazy. That's crazy.
I think that just priced Jalen Phillips out of returning to the Eagles
Mm, mm,
because
yeah.
the going rate they were hoping for was like 20 million, and then I heard it would be like 27 million, and now with this Daniil Hunter signing of 1 year being 40 million, it's probably closer to 27, 30 million. They can't afford
Hmm.
that. There's just not enough
Hmm.
production there to be able to say, yeah, we're gonna take that gamble. So
Yeah.
I think it's increasingly unlikely that Phillips comes back, which, if that's the case, does Dean stay? Jacoby Dean, the linebacker. I think there's a possibility. I did hear something
Yeah.
interesting. There are approximately 20 players in the NFC East, I think it was 20, that are making between 7 to 15 million on the rosters that they're on. Do you have any idea how many players the Eagles have that fall in that range? And it's 7 to 15 million a
Interesting.
year.
I'm gonna say the number is probably high. I'm gonna go out of 20, I'll go like 13.
So for the Eagles, the number is 1.
Oh, really? So it's the opposite of what I was thinking.
Yeah, so they either go really, really high or they're really, really low.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha. Just between the yeah, okay.
Yep. So they only have one contract that fell into that, and that was Dallas Goedert, and they almost traded him last year. They kept
Hmm.
him. They're not probably going to keep him this offseason. So I
Hmm.
think with that in mind, a lot of the offseason moves the Eagles are going to make are going to be in that vein. Reed Blankenship's a free agent this year. I don't think Reed Blankenship is back. I like Reed Blankenship to
Hmm.
some degree, but I get this feeling he's going to get a 3 year, $45 million contract. And my first thought will be
Someone will pay him. Yeah.
way too much money. Way too much money.
Hmm.
If he gets that, I'd say even 3 years, 30 million. I'm like, ugh, that's a lot of money for someone that had some bad moments last year. And again, it's not that he's a bad player, but it's like you have to weigh it out. How much are you paying for this person? How much are they really going to produce for you? And
Hmm.
if they underperform, it kills you. The Bryce Huff contract, that was an absolute killer for us. It was a
Yeah.
gamble that had a lot of thought process into, and I can't fault Howie for, but just absolutely did not work out. So I think a lot of the moves the Eagles make this offseason will be in that vein. Nakobe Dean, I think, is the one exception they would make because of his age and because of his scheme fit.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they will because you have Jod Campbell that's right behind him. So we'll see what happens on that front. But sorry, one sec. Thought I had to sneeze.
That's always the worst feeling in the world. You just like just sneeze, just get it out, and then it just goes away. You're like,
Oh
oh,
gosh,
that
it's
was
gonna come
annoying.
back. So,
Hmm.
but I think that one's gonna be interesting to follow. And really, man, we're just waiting for AJ Brown. AJ Brown, is
Yeah.
he staying? Is he going? And
Hmm.
I don't know. I think Dallas Goedert's gone. One thing I did hear for the Eagles is they're thinking about looking at David Njoku to replace Dallas Goedert. I am not a fan of that move
It's interesting.
because David Njoku is slightly older.
Hmm.
He's probably got his best days behind him. Um, I just don't think that really helps your team. I get it. They're in a tough spot. The tight end market is not great, so you probably have
Right.
to go through the draft. But I'm not a fan of overpaying for someone. I just,
Yeah. Yeah. There's two decent pass catching tight ends in the draft. Sadiq obviously one of them, and then Stowers. He had a really good combine. He's more like a second round pick kind of guy. So if you do miss out on Sadiq, Stowers could still sneak in there. But if neither one of those guys gets to you, next best option might be Njoku.
I don't know. That's a really steep drop.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe I'm being too harsh on Njoku. I just I've never thought he was that great of a tight end. I've always felt like he was
Hmm.
frustrating. He never seemed to like, besides 2023. 2023 was a great year for him, but other years I just
Hmm.
felt like he never did what I thought he would. The games I thought he would have great
Hmm.
games, he didn't. And I do think that matters because, there's some games you really just need your player to ball out and they don't. And that's a
Hmm.
problem. Um, but I wish they could keep Dallas Goedert. I think Dallas Goedert would be a great person to stay on the team, but
Yeah.
I don't see how they're going to keep him. He's going to be very expensive. Um, so
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a possibility the Chiefs might look at him to replace Kelsey, because they did clear up a lot of cap space by restructuring Mahomes, and then McDuffie's gone, so they don't gotta pay him. They have a little money. That might be what they're looking at. Who knows?
yeah, I really liked Goddard.
Hmm.
I think that a move to the Chiefs would make all the sense in the world. I mean, he doesn't produce a lot of yards, but to me, it was the clutch
Red
factor.
zone. It was the red zone.
He
All
was
those touchdowns.
so clutch. But even just, he was that safety valve. You could depend on him.
Hmm.
You knew he was going to be there. You knew he was going to be open. Like that's where I see in Colby Parkinson, and I really like about Colby Parkinson is I sense this guy that's like he could be there in big moments. And
Hmm.
there aren't many tight ends that can do that for teams. I mean, Brett Bowers, of course, you could go with him. Um, but so that's the part that's going to be interesting to follow. And as far as the rest of the Eagles team, it's tough to say at this point. I really don't know what else is going to happen.
Hmm.
There's a lot of uncertainty. I expect the Eagles to be big losers in free agency. I think they're going to play the comp game
Hmm.
because if you have Reed Blankenship, if you have Jalen Phillips, you
Hmm.
have Dallas Goedert, maybe Nakobe Dean. I mean, that's four compensation picks right there. If they don't sign anybody, they get. And it just sounds like, based on Howie Roseman's comments, that we're going to play the comp game again,
Hmm.
like we did last offseason. We got four draft picks from it last year. We could get another four draft picks from it this year. And it does matter. It gives you that ability to trade for players. Um,
Hmm.
so we'll see. It's hard to say at this point, but that is kind of the feeling I'm getting. So,
And hey, if you guys do lose Jalen Phillips, there's a certain linebacker in Minnesota that's available for trade. Just saying.
yeah, I just don't feel like that's a fit for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Great, great player. I just don't think that's what they're looking for.
Hmm.
Um, So we'll see what happens. It's uh
Yeah.
it's interesting, man. I keep refreshing news sites to see if the Eagles have traded
Hmm.
AJ Brown because I'm ready for this to be done. So
Yes. Yes, and I'm ready for Grenard to have a new home. Um, Most likely. I mean, you mentioned the Patriots for AJ Brown. The Patriots are a good spot for Grenard. I mean, the Commanders are a possibility. 49ers are a possibility. Just it's basically teams that are close outside of the Commanders, and they need that pass rush to they think
right.
get them over the
Mm,
top.
right.
So, but that those are the teams that make the most sense. But maybe in the future, on a next episode, we can do a full off-season blueprint with that website I found because it looks awesome. It looks like so much fun. I only played with it once. I was like, ooh, this is cool. That's how I found out that if you post June 1st, Jonathan Allen, you save a lot more money. I'm like, oh, no one's talking about that. That might be what they're thinking because just the cut to save 4 million and change doesn't make a ton of sense when you're over 40 million over the cap. Now,
Over the cap.
if
Yeah.
you're 1 million over the cap and that's the only move you make, got it. Get on the cap, cut Allen, move on. But when you're that high, but if you post June 1st him, it's like 11 to 12 million savings. Like that
Mm,
makes more sense.
yeah.
And it was Kwesi who signed that horrible contract. So that's another ammo into the no longer having Kwesi
I
holster
mean,
there.
to be fair, you were more okay with that signing than I was last year.
Mainly because of our D line was awful and it didn't cost us that comp pick game. I wasn't in full love with the contract because it was basically a 2 year contract as opposed to a legit 1 year contract. Hargrave was a legit 1 year contract. I really liked that move, and he played okay. Both of them played okay, but not as much as their cost, and we're so much over the cap right now. And for last year, it was like we're going all in. We won 14 games last year. Our D line was bad. Our O line was bad. You improved both. Let's see what McCarthy can do. Turns out they weren't great moves, but the contracts were very bad for both those players. So that was the biggest thing, is that Allen contract was just a little too high, especially in year two, and the guarantees. Hargrave was fine. It's only like a 4 million dead cap if we cut him. So it's like, yeah, we'll eat that. That's fine. Allen's a different story. It's like 15 million dead cap. You're like, ugh, don't like that. But it is what it is. We're moving on from both. We got some young guys in place, and there's speculation that we might be drafting one of those really stud D tackles with a first round pick. And I love that thought. Love that thought. Like a Peter Woods or a Caleb Banks, something like that. That'd be great. But that's really all I had for latest Viking stuff, speculation, Kyler Murray. Is there anything else, Eagles, you want to talk about? Oh, you're on mute still.
Sorry, man. My nose has just been
Yeah.
drained. But no, that's it for me, man. We'll see what the rest of the week brings, and the madness begins
Uh,
Monday.
Oh, yeah. Our next episode is going to be just filled with juicy, awesome football stuff. It's going to be great.
Yep. Yeah. But no, that's it for me, man. This was fun. Looking forward to next week.
Yeah, this was great. Absolutely. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us this episode of the Gridiron Grind with Andrew and Lance. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and we will see you next time.
We'll see everybody.